Hello all. So today we are talking about Chapter 7, which examines the basic systems contained in any sport facility. Systems can raise numerous issues, from how to install the systems to energy conservation concerns. Among the most important elements in a facility, and often the most expensive on a percentage basis, are the systems built in or added on. Everything from HVAC to energy and plumbing systems needs to be installed and maintained in an appropriate manner. A facility cannot be built with a mere collection of systems, but rather needs to be effectively integrate all of the systems to minimize costs and maximize benefits. An HVAC system needs to be connected to the electrical system to monitor air temperature and save the most energy when the facility is not in use. Systems are designed to help maintain a safe and comfortable facility. When any system goes down, the entire facility is affected. Facility users demand that systems work. For example, the lights not go off during an event and toilets not fail to flush, or that they may be repaired very quickly. The HVAC system can contain numerous components, and each component needs to be critically analyzed to determine if changes or modifications are needed. A building heating system utilizes an energy conversion process to create usable heat and a control system to distribute the heat. If conventional fuels such as coal, oil, or natural gas are used, the facility needs a heat plant to process the fuel into heat. Other heating options such as city steam do not require a heat plant. The fuel is transformed through a heat transfer system into steam, warm air, or hot water that is pumped through the facility to generate heat. Once the heat is generated in a heat plant, it is transferred to the building. One option is a warm air transference system, in which the warm air is pumped by means of a ductwork through the same distribution system utilized by the air conditioning system. Hot water transference systems utilize baseboard heaters or convectors, which are like car radiators. When cold air heats the tubes filled with hot water, the cooler air is warmed, thus warming the room. The most popular cooling system is a vapor compression system. The heart and soul of the system is the refrigerant, which starts absorbing heat when it boils. Besides the refrigerant, the vapor compression system requires an evaporator, a compressor, a condenser, and an expansion device. These elements are typically integrated into one or two units. However, such a system is classified not as an air conditioning system, but as an air chilling system. And really, your HVAC and air conditioning system accounts for 20 to 25% of a new facility's costs. Ventilation helps produce better air quality through extracting old air and replacing it with new air. And you also need large ceiling exhaust fans as well. Large AC systems, typically there are three components. There's a high volume air handler to move air around. There's centrifugal chillers to cool the water. And there are cooling towers to help dissipate the heat generated by the chillers. Ventilation helps produce better air quality by extracting older air and replacing it with new air. The American College of Sports Medicine, or ACSM, recommends 8 to 12 air exchanges per hour in a gymnasium, which can be accomplished with several large ceiling fans. Most facilities utilize multiple intake and exhaust locations to circulate the air appropriately. For example, a central ventilation system for a building draws from every corner of a room and possibly returns the air through a center location. When a fabric roof is put on top of an existing facility, care needs to be exercised to ensure that the HVAC system is working properly. Another major factor that affects air conditioning is humidity. A high relative humidity means that the amount of moisture in the air is high. Humidity is especially important in sport because it affects the amount of heat produced by an athlete and the ability of air to absorb moisture from the body. If the humidity level is more than 80%, the ability of air to absorb moisture from the body is reduced and an athlete will sweat more. That is why people tend to sweat much more when competing in humid summer air than when they work out at the same intensity in lower humidity. The American College of Sports Medicine recommends a humidity level below 60%, but this level is very hard to achieve even in some air-conditioned buildings. Cooling effectiveness is influenced by the occupant heat load. The heat load is affected by two numbers: the number of people in a facility and their activity. If a large number of people are jumping around and producing heat, the air conditioning system must work harder to compensate for the added heat they are generating. In addition to occupants, appliances such as stoves produce a heat load. This is actually something that we've dealt with in the past with a couple of our rooms in Island Hall Gym. It's not power, but it's grace that we tend to have. There's a great big load of participants in the jazz dance class, and with that, what you'll see is oftentimes the windows will start, or the mirrors will start fogging up, and you can feel the precipitation in the room. Same thing in the aerobic rooms upstairs in the Dugan Wellness Center. So ideal temperature range is typically between 65 to 75 degrees. That's what's recommended. With your heating, you typically have the heating plant with the transference system and the in-ground heating coils, as well as with cooling. You have a vapor compression system with chillers and cooling towers. That was what you saw at the American Bank Center, was the chiller. And then again, looking at your occupant heat load, so the number of people that are there and their activity. So if you think about the jazz dance class or the aerobics rooms, those are the ones that if they're just packed out, if you got 40 people in the rooms and they're doing a lot of high intensity activity, there's going to be a lot of again, humidity in the room as well. So air quality has various meanings. Some people prefer the broader term air environment, which includes air temperature, humidity, and ventilation rate. However, these factors do not necessarily affect air quality. External air quality cannot be managed the same way as indoor air quality. So with external air quality tends to be influenced by the following: smells, which can be caused by any of the following. If you think about, we had talked about, I think at one time, the facility that was being built out by the dump, and so it was more south of the dump. If you think about how the wind tends to blow east to west here, west to east, and with that, a change in direction of the wind, you've got the dump. It would be a great smell, I'm sure, when you're out playing soccer or softball. Anyway, other types of things would be chemicals such as organic compounds, pesticides, cigarette smoke, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen dioxide. Other biological elements like molds, fungi, microorganisms, and dust mites, as well as physical components and pollutants, dust, radiation, radon, respirable particles. So those are just some things to be aware of, and giving you an air quality index here on the graph, and you can see there's little or no health risks when your air quality index is good. But as you go up, you can see it can be emergency conditions, and that's where they actually had to shut down the tournament, the tennis tournament this summer, because it had gotten so hot with humidity and the heat, that sort of thing, that they shut it down for a period of time. And so there were multiple times where in between, while someone was playing, they had to shut down the tournament for a period of time, and then they would start back up. And those are the things as a sport manager that you look for. Other indoor air quality factors that you look at is really it's the nature of the air that affects the health and well-being of a facility's occupants. So with that, external variables that you consider are the climate. We tend to live in a climate that's very hot as well as humid. And of course, if you're bringing outside air in, that's something to be aware of. Water infiltration, ventilation and infiltration of outdoor air, and building and HVAC related factors such as the building design, the structural materials, and the HVAC design and operations and materials. Internal variables are looking at the interior design, building materials that use paints, sealants, adhesive, carpets. In the summer, late in the summer in August, usually they redo the basketball courts or all of the flooring in Dugan and Island Hall, and so air quality definitely is is difficult, but they do that when school is out. So it's immediately after the second summer term. They have a two week window when they can get those floors done, and they schedule it that way for a reason. And any other internal construction or renovation projects that you've got going on as well as furnishings and equipment. Air quality is such a major issue that the organizing committee for the 2000 Sydney Olympics prepared the document Environmental Guidelines for the Summer Games as part of the city's Olympic bid. All facilities in Sydney were required to comply with the recommendations. And so with that, there were operating manuals that were developed for all facilities to help maintain good indoor air quality. And with that, you want to consider using foliage plants that absorb that indoor air pollutants as well. Another issue is sick building symptoms. With that, it's a name of a condition that's thought to be caused by being in a building or other type of enclosed space. It's attributed to poor indoor air quality, and really the precise cause is not necessarily known, but according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, poor indoor quality can be found in about 30% of new and remodeled buildings. Sometimes diagnosing SBS can be difficult because of the wide range of symptoms. They mimic other conditions such as a cold or flu. The key to SBS is that your symptoms improve after leaving the building in question, only to come back when you return to the same location. If you notice recurring symptoms that seem to appear whenever you're in a particular building, you may consider investigating sick building syndrome as the cause. It's also important to note that SBS affects everyone differently. While everyone who spends time in a particular space might go through some of the above symptoms, they can vary. Some people may not experience any symptoms at all, while others may experience symptoms after leaving the building in question. It may be due to repeated or long-term exposure. So some of the things that they consider to be exact causes or possible causes are buildings with poor ventilation, such as schools, offices, and public spaces, high levels of dust, the presence of mold or fungus, formaldehyde, which is found in wood furniture and floors, asbestos, chemicals in the air, pesticides, carbon monoxide, the ozone from the use of printers and fax machines, heat or low humidity, or even noisy work environments and insect or animal droppings. So it's really difficult to pinpoint one single cause. You have to work with your employer to eliminate some possible risk factors to get to the source of the problem. So with that, it's just a process of elimination. So with that, as far as the symptoms being treated, oftentimes allergy medications are utilized, but also looking at cleaning products that your cleaning staff are using, vacuuming to make sure to remove dust, changing out the air filters every couple of months, finding the right humidity. It's recommended that an optimal humidity level of 40 to 70% is the best. And you also want to get a test for possible indoor mold or fungus. Make sure you're updating computer monitors and other display systems and change the lights as needed, as well as considering investing in LED or blue lights for less energy output. So energy, especially electric energy, is indispensable for sport facilities with all their lights, cooking equipment, electronic boards, and so on. Approximately 67% of the energy used in large office buildings is electrical energy. Large sport facilities typically consume the same percentage of energy during game days through use of all the electronic devices, although they use much less electricity when the facility is not putting on an event. Of the total amount of electricity used in a typical building, 40% is used for the cooling system, 33% for lighting, and 12% for heating. By analyzing where and how energy is utilized, the facility can take specific steps to reduce expenses. Furthermore, although lighting costs account for 33% of a building's electrical cost, most buildings are unoccupied 72% of the time. A watt is a measure of electrical energy used. Higher wattage appliances utilize more energy than lower wattage appliances. Electricity is billed in kilowatt hours. So oftentimes you'll see that on your bill that the electric company sends you, which represents your energy consumption rate. Thus, a room with 5 200-watt light fixtures turned on is using 1,000 watt-hours, which equals 1 kilowatt-hour. The cost for electricity varies based on location and usage, and typically consumer usage is normally more expensive than industrial or commercial usage. In 2013, the average cost of electricity in the Northeast was 14.52 cents per kilowatt hour, whereas in the south central part of the United States, the average cost was only 8.74 cents per kilowatt hour. It would also be interesting to know when that was, if that was in the winter, so in the Northeast where it's so cold versus here in Corpus Christi. The most expensive place to purchase electricity was Hawaii, where the average cost was 33 cents per kilowatt hour. The biggest concerns with any system are how much it costs to purchase and how much it costs to purchase. So with that, there are also HVAC systems have also been used to inject scents at both main entrances when fans walk in, and this helps to increase cotton candy sales throughout the stadium and increase concession sales across all other items. Using smells to enhance purchasing is nothing new. Movie theaters for years pumped in the smell of hot popcorn, and Cinnabon pumps out the smell of their delicious treats in malls across the world. The lifetime cost associated with an HVAC system is many times more than the initial cost of the HVAC unit and its installation. Another consideration is your backup generator, which is critical for life safety systems in a sport facility. Backup energy is required for lighting and sound systems, so exit instructions can be broadcast over loudspeakers or on the scoreboard. A backup generator may also be required to maintain the HVAC system to keep ventilating the building or remove harmful smoke from certain areas. Facility managers also need to be concerned with both indoor and outdoor lighting. There are different types of lighting systems that you can use. We've talked a little bit about this in class, but there are indirect lights. There's also direct lights and ambient lights. As you can see in the picture, your indirect lights are those that are going to be in the building, and more of there's some type of filter that prevents lighting from being direct, if you will. So these are the foot candle requirements at various sport surfaces. So depending upon the type of sport event that you have going on, these are the recommended numbers for the system installed. And so with that, with baseball, you want 50 to 150 foot candles in the infield versus 30 to 100 foot candles in the outfield. And you can see for basketball, about 30 to 100 foot candles. Of course, it's indoor. Now, is that direct? You're probably looking at direct foot candles with that direct lighting, if you will. So most of it's going to be 30 to 100. You can see with tennis, it's a little bit more, 40 to 125. A lot of that's because the ball is a little bit smaller, and of course you also get a reflection oftentimes, depending upon the court itself. If it's polyurethane, there may be a little bit of a sheen off of the floor as well. And then swimming, 30 to 180 foot candles. So this is lighting can be provided by various means, such as windows that let in natural ambient light, gas lanterns, and light bulbs. Light sources can be placed in different locations from the ceiling to the floor. The exact location depends on style and how strong the light needs to be. The optimal light strength and direction also depend on the particular type of activity. For example, badminton is best played with darker colored walls to help players see the shuttlecock. However, play can be enhanced either through the use of indirect lights all over the court or through strategic placement of direct lights around the court's outer boundaries to help prevent losing shuttles in the light. Direct lighting is light that is directed downward from a fixture. Indirect lighting from ceiling fixtures focuses the light against the ceiling so that 90% of the light energy is reflected back to the floor from the ceiling. In contrast, diffuse lighting reflects only 40 to 60% of the light energy back from the ceiling to the ground. And semi-direct lighting reflects 60 to 90% of the light back to the floor. Semi-indirect lighting bounces back only 10 to 40% of the light from the ceiling to the floor, with the remaining percentage being direct light to the ground. So the key to any indoor lighting system is to have the proper light directed at the proper spots and replaced at regular intervals. This looks much like our gym, Island Hall Gym, and you can see they use both direct and ambient lighting. We don't have any windows in Dugan Wellness Center gym because you don't necessarily want that light, again, bouncing off the floor or distracting someone in play. So here, sorry, I'm lost. A lamp refers to any source of light, whether a candle, a flashlight, torch, or spotlight. The output produced by any lamp is measured in lumens. A lumen is the amount of light energy that strikes a specific distance from the light source. If one lumen falls a distance of 1 foot from the light source, called a standard candle, the light intensity is called 1 foot candle. The farther one moves away from the light source, the larger the area that the lumens are spread over, so light intensity decreases. Light intensity is measured by the foot candles at the playing surface. The quality of lighting is measured by the uniformity or evenness of light on the field. Poor light uniformity poses a threat to player safety and often detracts from the spectator enjoyment. Lighting that is uneven makes players appear to change speed when they move from light areas to dark areas, making the action hard to follow. Besides cost, one of the biggest problems with any external lighting system has to do with light leaving the intended area through glare, trespass, and sky glow. Glare refers to light that is hard on the viewer's eyes. Glare can be defined as a point of very bright light. This problem can come from too much light or uneven light on a field. Trespass describes light that was intended to go into one area but also enters into another area. Trespass is often referred to as spill. It's spilling from the intended area. And then sky glow describes light that is directed or reflected upward and is wasted in space. Sky glow can be seen as an orange haze over a city when one is flying in a plane at night. These problems can be minimized with fixed visors, internal louvers, soft lighting systems, and faceted reflectors. There are other structural considerations to take into consideration when with an outdoor lighting system, and that's the luminaire assemblies and then the poles. And so that was something that we looked at when we were at the outdoor rec fields, and that and they talked about how they had specifically made sure that the lights were pointed down rather than up, and again, that's to make sure that you're wising that energy appropriately. So other considerations are your lighting rigs, and your rigs are used not only for your lights but also for your scoreboards, your sound systems. They can't be merely attached to the roof or superstructure. They have to be suspended from the ceiling, and oftentimes it's called rigging. The key variable for rigging is the load capacity. So with load capacity, you're looking at how much weight that system can support. So something to be aware of, and you've got a couple of pictures here that show you those are an awful lot of lights. I can't imagine having a program for all of them. That's a big process. So Lincoln Financial Field is where the Philadelphia Eagles play, and it was recently refitted to include a solar and wind power generator that powers 10 home games. The cost savings over 20 years is considered to be $60 million. There are also 11,000 solar panels that you can see in the pictures. They're called canopies. And then there are 14 micro wind turbines. They generate 3 megawatts is basically what it amounts to. And if you look in the right lower hand picture, that's actually in the parking lot. Those canopies are, and they're generating electricity. for the facility. So, we think about energy costs, but you also want to think about ways to save money on electricity as well. One of the key elements of managing any system in a facility is tracking usage and expenses. If certain systems cost more to operate than they should be replaced. An energy audit examines where energy usage and energy losses are coming from. Many facilities now are changing to LED bulbs, and yes, in the beginning, it is a great expense to refit some of the electrical outlets, but what they're finding is their savings is much greater. Other means of cutting costs are reducing the number of hours from 10 to 7, which is about a 30% savings. Limit water consumption, so making sure that you're using built-in sensors in toilets and faucets. But you do have to be aware of those sensors. Oftentimes, I know at the athletic club, it seems like they have toilets that are flushing all the time, and no one's using them. As well as oftentimes the faucets aren't necessarily working properly. So you do have to do some maintenance there as well. With that, of course, motion detection systems like we have in all of our, in Island Hall anyway, where you walk in the room and the lights come on. Other considerations are, of course, power outages and things of that nature. What do you do? Do you have backup generators in that particular situation? So important that you have a lighting plan for how you're going to utilize energy, if you will. So to talk a little bit about plumbing, in a typical office building, restrooms account for 37% of water usage, followed by cooling and heating, which is about 28%. You have landscaping to consider, about 22%, and then kitchen and dishwashing, about 13%. Plumbing systems help transport water and waste from one area to another. They are critical in sport facilities for restrooms, kitchens, and locker rooms. Of the miles of plumbing in a large stadium or arena, a large proportion is for water that is going to fixtures for waste removal to the sewer systems. So your wastewater systems, that's your basic plumbing systems for toilets, faucets, sprinklers, showers, and water fountains. Another consideration is water recycling. So how you're going to accomplish that and having a plan for that as well. Your fire suppression system, this is actually what you don't want to see. Here they're testing the system, the fire system. The first step in fire prevention entails developing strategies that minimize potential for fires, such as does the facility comply with all appropriate codes and industry standards? Are the various fire alert and suppression systems adequate? Another step is to determine where there are potential fire hazards. Most fires originate in the kitchen area from cooked food or hot cooking appliances. Fires can also start in equipment rooms where torches may be used to repair or improve equipment, or in places where combustible materials such as old boxes are stored at the bottom of stairwells. So develop fire prevention strategies. These strategies can entail facility-related steps such as properly housing flammable liquids and combustible materials and training employees on the proper response to fires. You also want to look at your wet pipe sprinkler systems. The sprinkler system that, like you see here, is a wet pipe sprinkler system. You also have dry pipe sprinkler systems that are used in cold weather where water freezing is a problem, as well as misting and fogging systems that are used to suppress a fire by spraying a mist from the sprinklers. Chemical systems use carbon dioxide and halon replacements and dry chemicals instead of water. There are others such as standpipe and hose systems which are required in addition to sprinkler systems. These are large pipes that are seen on the outside of large buildings like fire hydrants. Fire department can attach the fire hoses to these pipes and start pumping water. Interior systems can range from anything from carpeting and floor tiling to video and audio systems. One of the most visible components of any audio-visual system is the scoreboard, and fans would not appreciate going to a game and not being able to see it. The system is connected through fiber optic cables to help transmit the converted analog audio signal to the preferable digital form. These cables are fed into the control room, which houses a 16-channel 8-bus mixing console that you see here in the picture. Since sound in the stadium changes based on ambient sound created by the fans, the system includes automation that keeps the broadcast sound at a predetermined level above the noise created by the fans. As this example highlights, sound systems can be very complex, and a qualified sound technician is critical for ensuring sound quality. Sound and video equipment for a facility can take a lot of room and is very expensive. Another thing to consider is that sound outdoor versus indoor. You've got wind sound and other sounds, traffic sounds, things like that you have to factor in. Thinking of Whataburger Field, all that's going on there, the trucks and the wind. And so although many professional sports teams make money from ticket sales, many also make a large percentage of their revenue from television broadcasts. Most facilities cannot just install a camera and expect to produce images that can be broadcast on national TV. A camera is only the beginning of the process. A facility needs to have appropriate lighting that allows athletes to see the action well, but at the same time allows those watching at home to see it without numerous shadows or dark areas. For proper placement of a camera, room has to be made on the sidelines and in the stands for mobile camera vehicles, as well as overhead for aerial cameras on guide wires attached to scoreboards and goals or baskets. And now you're starting to see the use of drones as well. So Capital One Arena recently went through a renovation summer 2019. It was initially supposed to cost $40 million. They ended up putting in an additional $15 million. And the whole idea is to improve the fan experience. So with that, they hung a 360-degree center scoreboard. There's a 360-degree sky ring that you see in the picture, as well as 7,000 square feet of LED displays throughout the arena. You have 8-sided, multi-level display areas with real-time stats, scores, and updates. There are 4 2-sided dual TV boards, and then you've got the upper and lower fascia ribbons that you see. And along with that, 350 TV screens, 85 to 90-inch screens, and 23 LED boards around the concourse. So a lot of money spent on refitting this arena just for the fan experience, if you will. So with that, you also have to consider with your scoreboard, your communication, all of that, your data network. And it's used to deliver data effectively throughout a facility. It covers everything from your phone lines to the data that's required to control the scoreboard, as well as your soundboard. With more and more building systems being controlled by computers, a seamless integration of computer systems ranging from ticketing and security to HVAC and water control systems must exist. A primary focus is on computer-related data, whether for ticketing information or just internet email. Data security is paramount concern for any data network. Hackers can potentially break into the system and steal the credit card information or season ticket holders, or send malicious emails to those on the network. Although some safety can be developed through installation of firewall software, which is designed to prevent hackers from getting into the system, internal controls need to be added as well. And all of this means fiber for Wi-Fi, figuring out how much you need when you're building a stadium. You want to double it because that's how much you'll need when you open, and then double it again because that's how much you'll need in the first 10 years of operation. This was a quote from Robert Jordan, the senior VP with Van Wagner Sports and Entertainment at the Minnesota Vikings Stadium. So recreational activity sounds are caused by normal facility use and are unavoidable, but mechanical sounds, on the other hand, are the sounds produced by the machinery on which the facility operates and hence are avoidable. They can be controlled if properly planned for in the design phase. Recreational activity sounds consist of both airborne sound and structure-borne sound, each with different transmission mechanisms that lead to different control strategies. Airborne sounds are primarily the sounds caused by facility users, such as from voices, music, whistles, and cheers. You hear a lot of that in the back. Well, in both of the gyms, when you have the divider wall down, you've got sound happening. So you can divide the room, but you still have a lot of background noise going on. You can also have structure-borne sounds or impact sounds that are caused by direct impact with some part of the facility structure, such as a basketball player's foot hitting the floor while the player is cutting to the basket. That creates both air and structure-borne sound. The airborne sound is the screech of the player's sneaker, while the structure-borne sound comes from the direct contact of the player's foot with the floor. Structure-borne sound is much more difficult to control because it vibrates and is transmitted to the air. Considering a bouncing basketball as an example, the sound caused by the basketball vibrates off the floor and is transmitted to the air, where it spreads in the form of a dull thud. Additional structure-borne sounds can come from mechanical systems such as the plumbing, electrical, mechanical systems, your HVAC, other external factors such as traffic or construction. If a building has a single pane glass windows, external sound will be freely transmitted inside. However, thermal windows will significantly reduce a sound path into the building. Noise control can be achieved through sound absorption. This was really what I was trying to show you as we were walking through the facility and looking in both of especially the biomechanics lab and the motor learning lab, what you can do there. The sound absorption involves decreasing echoes and reverberation within a space through the control of airborne sound transmission with doors, ceiling tiles, and so on, as well as through the control of impact or structure-borne sounds. So thinking about what kind of flooring you want, again, can be something that helps with that. Matting is going to help to kind of curb that down as well. Airborne sounds travel through the air with relative ease, but are effectively muted by solid barriers. There are many systems that are controlled with a facility management system. It's a software tool that's enabled multi-site facility managers to perform a range of functions related to ongoing maintenance and repair, including asset management, commercial contractor sourcing, and compliance, work order fulfillment, preventive maintenance, scheduling, invoicing, and analytics. With a comprehensive facilities management platform in place, facility management teams can adequately track usage of space, analyze spending patterns over time, increase energy efficiency, and cut costs, all while enhancing communications with service providers and internal stakeholders. One of the site visits that we usually do is over to the soccer stadium, and there it's set up on a system where Mark Bowling could literally, using an app on his phone, can turn the lights on or off without even being on the campus. It makes it really convenient and again, energy efficient, if you will. There are also exterior systems that you have to consider with that. And so exterior systems are there to provide strength to the building structure and provide ancillary building amenities. Your roof is there to protect the contents of the building and ensures that the building will not face structural problems due to water damage. Other exterior systems covered include landscaping, transportation, and parking. And those need to be regularly inspected and maintained to include building facade, which can deteriorate significantly in urban areas from factors such as car emissions, acid rain, and sea salt. Especially here in Corpus Christi, sea salt is that and the humidity all tend to work together. And so windows, doors, signs, parking areas, and sidewalks all need to be properly maintained and supervised. There are 4 basic types of roofs that provide overhead spectators protection. They are classified according to the amount of coverage they provide. You have small sun canopies, which provide minimal protection, as they are not supported by interior columns, which could interfere with the sight lines. So you have to consider on the field what's going on. There's also, when you have columns on the ground, there's also the fear of people running into those columns. So that's something to be aware of as well. These canopies offer protection for the upper rows and are often viewed as more ornamental than functional. And so they are often used in sportsplexes to provide some shade. There are also full roof canopies above the playing surface and crowd that cover most of the facility. These roofs normally have an opening in the middle where sunlight and elements can enter. One of the biggest problems with this type of system is that as the sun travels across the sky, it creates a major headache for televised events. And there tend to be light areas and shadows that tend to change during the course of an event that make photography more difficult, and for the athletes as well to be able to see the ball. Full roof canopies are often seen at major international soccer venues. Domes have gained popularity throughout the world in the past 30 years. These roofs cover the entire seating bowl and are supported at the perimeter so that no internal columns are needed. They allow a facility manager to control the temperature and the lighting. The major drawback is that many fans and players prefer to have some sun exposure, even in winter conditions. Retractable roofs have gained popularity over the past 20 years through innovative design that allows relative quick closure. Retractable roofs enable a facility to be open on nice days and can close in about half an hour when inclement weather threatens an event. For every $1 of damage a roof sustains, an estimated $10 worth of damage occurs in the structure below the roof. So some roofs work better in cooler weather and others work better in hot climates. A builder, designer, or architect can help identify the best material to use in the construction of a roof. Another concern with a roof is the weight that has to be carried. For example, a 1-inch puddle of water in a 100 square foot area on a roof can weigh 520 pounds. That weight significantly increases when the water is in the form of snow. Many roofs have collapsed because of excessive snow, metal fatigue, or both. Parking lots and garages are critical for sport facilities. As only 5% of fans attend games utilize public transportation, while another 5% take leased buses, estimates show that football fans are more likely to carpool, averaging about 3.5 passengers per vehicle, while baseball fans traditionally travel with 2.5 passengers per vehicle. So parking is another consideration that you have to take into play as well. One of the most overlooked facility concerns is pests. And pests represent a health concern. If a facility has a pest infestation, like we've had here in Corpus Christi at the movie theaters, there are cooking or food service areas within the building. There may be a health code violation that could lead to the health department to shut down the food service or to shut down the facility completely until it's taken care of. It also represents a huge marketing concern for the organization. An unclean facility with bugs can repel facility users and lead to economic loss, much like what we saw here at one of the theaters. One of the often unexpected costs of running a facility is also associated with trash removal. A typical stadium or arena can easily spend several $100,000 on trash removal every year. This amount can be reduced significantly by recycling cardboard boxes, plastic, straps, bottles, cans, and even cooking oil. Another strategy for minimizing the amount spent on trash removal is buying or renting an industrial trash compactor, which can cost around $10,000. And a security system is something that's important as well. It relies on a number of devices. To maintain an appropriate monitoring system, a facility may have closed-circuit television, cameras, and a monitoring station. Some sports facilities have more than 100 CCTV cameras scanning both the interior and exterior and recording all images in a digital format that takes up very little data storage space. Some systems are motion activated, while others are integrated with computer systems to monitor crowd activities and signal an alarm if someone is moving the wrong way in a crowd. Alarms fall into two categories: life safety and property protection. Life safety systems such as fire alarm are designed to provide early detection and prompt notification of a hazard. Property protection systems exist in areas housing valuables that may need additional protection. Thus, an athletic facility may have a life safety alarm system in locations where patrons and guests can congregate, as well as property protection system on locations where cash or other valuables are stored. Both systems rely on an initiating or a sensing circuit or sensing loop to detect the hazard and then trigger the appropriate alarm. Every facility has routine security issues, from those involving the loading docks to those related to cash. The ticket office may need additional security to protect tellers or may require drop safes so that money can be deposited safely every 15 minutes. Each facility needs to undertake a security audit to identify security-related concerns so that appropriate systems can be implemented. So in summary, a facility cannot be built with a mere collection of systems, but rather needs to effectively integrate all the systems to minimize costs and maximize benefits. An HVAC system needs to be connected to the electrical system to monitor air temperature and save the most energy when the facility is not in use. The key to these systems is that they are designed to help maintain a safe and comfortable facility. When any system goes down, the entire facility is affected, and facility users demand that systems work. Another system that we haven't talked about, it's not necessarily included in the text, but is a consideration is your cleaning system, especially now with many facilities closing in response to the requirements. Your cleaning systems that are utilized in your schools that need to be evaluated. And so there are some other things that are involved as well, but just monitoring those, and that may be something that is outsourced through your cleaning company, but something that needs to be evaluated as well. Some other trends that are going on in facilities, especially right now with coronavirus, is that parks are offering an escape for people. And so with that, some of those facilities have been closing as well. And some are even going to more online fitness programming as such. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm hoping to have an interview with facility parks people this week and can give you a little bit more information about it. Anyway, thank you guys for visiting with me today. I look forward to seeing you again next week. And we'll be getting through all of this coronavirus stuff together. Just bear with one another and be safe. Have a good day.